Today's video is the fabric of the universe theory by Steve Patterson, and it's a really cool idea. And normally most of the videos are my research or my ideas, but I like to share this one because first of all, it's a really cool idea and it's really unique and I've never heard it before. And it's good to share ideas that aren't just repeated over and over through academia. And the second reason I think it's really interesting is because it's a proof by logic. And today, logic is not taken seriously at all. As Steve says, truth is a healthy balance between logic and evidence. And I mainly agree with that. I think if you have unbelievably strong evidence, or unbelievably strong logic, or moderately strong logic and moderately strong evidence, I think all three of those categories counts as an acceptable proof in my view. But today, pretty much the only way you can prove things is through strong evidence. There's a way higher emphasis on reading than there is on thinking. And I think that Steve's idea kind of shows the power of thinking. Now, I think this is interesting because you have, super high paid physicists who have all this education and mountains of knowledge with billions of dollars of equipment. And I think it's quite likely that Steve is producing more useful and sensible output than you'd be getting from this billion-dollar research.
Okay, so this is Steve's idea here, and it's interesting because they teach you Zeno's paradox if you take any philosophy course, but they don't tell you that there's a solution to it. They just say it's a problem. Now there is a solution to it, and anyways, let's go through this because some of you might not know what it is. So you have a little guy here who's a runner, and he has to run from here to here. Now the idea is you can cut this distance up in half, right? So he's going to run the first half of this, and then as he runs some more, he's going to run the next half, right? And then as he runs some more, he's going to run the next half, and then the next half, and the next half, and the next half, and you can always keep dividing this distance more and more and more and more and more, and he'll never reach this point because there's always going to be another half to cross, right? Now that seems pretty weird. How can somebody not be able to run this distance, right? You should be able to cross this line eventually. Okay, so Steve's solution is very simple, and the solution is that you can't keep dividing things up forever. At some point, you can keep cutting this in half, right? And there's a line there. You keep cutting it in half, and at some point, you reach the smallest size particle. And you only have one of two options. You can either be on this side or on this side. You have just the smallest size distance, a smallest size finite distance. And that might be a little bit hard to imagine, but look at it like a computer screen. A computer screen is a good analogy. So your computer screen is built out of a whole bunch of little dots called pixels, right? And all these dots kind of create the illusion of motion, the illusion of shape, right? But there's this minimum size to them, and when you see something traveling across a computer screen, it's not actually moving; it's just teleporting. It's teleporting from one pixel to the next. So you go from the smallest size pixel, and this line, if you were to watch, like when I'm drawing this red line, if you were to watch it in terms of pixels, it would look like this. You're just teleporting from one pixel to the next pixel. If you zoom in really closely to the monitor, you can see that.
So my question to you is, how convincing of an argument is that to you? And to me, I'm like about 80% convinced. Maybe 80% convinced that that's how reality works. That is, I would say, really strong logic. I wouldn't say it's bomb-proof quite yet, because I think that there is possibly some kind of really hard to imagine way reality could work. Maybe some sort of like matrix system where things don't actually exist and they're kind of like generated. Like I'm imagining it's kind of like you know, like those fractal patterns where you can just sort of zoom in forever, like this thing, right? So technically there's a finite distance here, but you can also kind of zoom in forever. I don't know, like maybe Steve can debunk that. I feel like there might be some kind of way you could imagine a universe where you wouldn't produce a contradiction, but you could have some sort of infinitely divisible particle, right? So I can't think of it offhand necessarily, but maybe if I thought long enough about it, I could come up with some kind of counter idea, right?